Welcome back to 305 Times to girl Sabrina Aponte. And today I am interviewing my friends first. I gotta say the word friends first, host second. But the original forecast is in the building right here. I got Steve, Rob, and Nelson joining me right here in Miami live. What's going on, guys?
What's up?
We enjoying this weather the best we can. Feel me?
I know you guys chose the perfect timing to come in the middle of what's a storm. Because disclaimer, this is pre-recorded. I just gotta say it, especially with so much that happened today.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're gonna get into a little bit of everything. 24 hours since we've seen each other,
right?
But you guys have been in Miami for a few days from the Bronx, New York.
Yeah.
Shout out to BX.
All the way. We had to fly in.
You know, people are gonna start thinking that I'm like just flying people out here.
You're only flying people out to do your show. Thank you for flying all of us out.
You're welcome, no biggie. But I'm glad that we were able to do this in person, just because with everything going on, it's so hard these days to just have anyone in the studio. But we're here. All three of you guys are here, and I just wanted to know a little bit. How's your trip been going so far?
It's been pretty good. The weather, all jokes aside, the weather's been kind of like crummy. But it's still a better escape than New York, because when we left New York, it was starting to get brick. For some New York slang, real quick, it was getting
Fill
brick.
everyone in here, Miami, because not everyone knows the brick.
Brick means it was cold, so
Really cold.
There's a couple of different types of cold in New York. It's brick, which means like it's really cold, and then there's like it's dumb brick, and that means it's like freezing outside. It's brick. It's not dumb brick.
There's also like you're not about to just leave the crib.
You might as well go back upstairs.
Yeah, like just cancel your day plans.
I don't think I'd ever be able to do that. The whole cold, the freezing. I don't know, man. I love New York. I gotta say that. But spring, summer, that's more of my time. Winter, I might just come say hi to the family real quick, stay for a few months until that's all over with.
It gets brutal, especially like the January, February months. But that's what makes us New Yorkers, right? Is getting through that like really rough cold period. It makes you grizzled.
It builds character. No funny.
It does. Steve, my man Steve over here. I'm so happy to have all three of you guys right here in front of me. For those that don't know, now all three of you were hosts of the Forecast podcast.
Yes.
And now, Nelson, you've been doing your own Chatting with Nelson.
Yes.
And you recently launched season 3.
Season 4.
Season 4.
Yes.
Season 4.
It's all right.
It's
I can't even catch up
I
myself.
can't catch up, literally. Yeah, I'm like, hold up, wait a minute. But congrats to you, because you're still going strong, middle of a pandemic and all. So
yes.
I'm happy. Is the Forecast going to be making a return?
Wow, that's a question that we actually always flirt with each other.
We'll be like, so what's up?
We doing this again?
Yeah, like
it's a little difficult just because all of our schedules in life kind of is hard for us to consistently record, but the Forecast is always kind of coming back in some type of concept or way when it comes to like all of our things, because like Rob was on the season debut. That's almost like a little Forecast reunion. I've been on Rob's podcast. Steve always is popping in and out, so like even without doing the Forecast podcast itself, like we kind of always have mini Forecast reunions everywhere.
Yeah, I feel like I always see some type of collab happening.
You know what I'm saying? These are at the end of the day, we're friends, so like a lot of people actually, and I know Rob saw this too. When we stopped doing the Forecast podcast,
they literally thought like we broke up.
They thought it was like a real life beef.
Like, like y'all not friends no more. I'm like, that's not the case. It's just like
we egged it on though a little bit too. Me and Steve, we're still doing the Forecast, kind of taking shots at Rob, but like ultimately we're friends, so like we'll always be doing content as the Forecast in like some capacity.
It's even more important that you keep that friendship strong.
Mm-hmm. Strong.
We like to support each other, I feel like.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Chatting with Nelson, since you recently dropped that first episode. Season 4, what's season 4 bringing? I know you like to vamp it up each time, and you kind of, you learn from doing this.
Absolutely. So season 4 is actually, I've had a lot of fun so far in prepping season 4, because I'm doing a lot of things different. So in doing the podcast with Chatting with Nelson, it's always been in my head a concept of almost like late night television.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's what made me want to do what I do, which is podcast, is watching so much late night television as a kid. And so what I've been doing this season is trying to just take elements. So I've added more of like laugh tracks and crowd responses and things like that. And just kind of trying to spice it up. I've also added some different segments. I got Steve, again with the collab stuff, I have Steve doing a stock segment, you know what I'm saying, where he gives some quick stock advice.
I love that. that.
And just more and more bigger
Steve is
interviews.
always about his dogs. I've overheard him, and I'm like one that doesn't.
Well, he's been giving this advice unsolicited for almost 2 years now, so I figured why not take it and at least put it on the podcast. Maybe I won't listen to it, but at least somebody out there will. So I've been trying new things like that, just trying to keep it fresh, especially in the pandemic where it's been hard to record with people in person. I'm trying to make it fun for people to listen to my interviews again, Just try new things.
Exactly. You got to learn from it all, from this experience. How has our mental health been treating us throughout this pandemic? As creatives,
Don Julio,
as hosts. I know. I'm sure this is something we can all relate to.
1942.
At least for me, it's been like a roller coaster. It's been up and down. There's been times where it's been harder to keep it in check, and then there's been times where it's easier. But I think what's important is kind of finding the balance. So what I've been doing is once a week I hang out with Rob and Brandon. Like I make it a point to see my friends at least once a week.
Shout out to Brandon.
Yeah, shout out to Brandon.
He's actually the fourth.
He is the fourth forecast member.
Okay. He wasn't one of the many bands people on the forecast.
There's actually only one real band person, and we can't say his name.
Okay, we'll just skip that.
But that's how my mental health has been. It's been a roller coaster, but I try to keep it in check with my friends.
Yeah, like pretty much. Yeah, I take time, hang out with Nell, hang out with B. Hopefully Steve makes the appearances too.
I do occasionally.
Yeah.
So because we had no idea this was gonna happen. We was rolling into it like, all right, we're gonna get our new season started, and then COVID hit, and now everything's out the window. So we had to adapt to it. So like people didn't want to hang out. They scared they'll get sick.
Right.
And then you just stuck
everyone's
in the,
taking
yeah,
that precaution. Yeah.
Right. You stuck in the crib all the time. It's like, damn, I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah.
So now with the Zoom stuff, and it makes it a little bit simpler. But since it's going back to normal, we can talk to people like how we're here today.
Exactly.
So this is way better than a webcam.
I know. I'm glad. Steve,
for me,
how have you been doing?
Well, like I said earlier, 1942, Don Julio on speed dial. But other than that, I've been trying to just expand my knowledge on certain topics. You guys keep bringing up the stock stuff, but that's just one element of what I've been trying to learn. The cryptocurrency as well, but listen, man, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on out there. Plant-based foods that I've been diving into hard. I've been eating a lot of
I was about to say eating or looking into the stocks because I couldn't tell.
No.
It might be both. I'm ready for vegan Steve though.
Now that I have enjoyed. I like the restaurant we went to yesterday. Shameless plug, Blanta or something like that.
Blanta, yes.
It
was phenomenal.
Your first time at Blanta here in Miami.
It was really amazing.
Yeah.
It changed me. I could give up maybe beef.
No, I don't know about that.
That's your vibe?
It was that good, man. It was really
vegan
good.
Steve.
Okay,
Watch.
shout out to Blanta making you change your ways. Good for you.
Changing his little diet.
And we also pet a sloth.
Also had a slot.
Don't forget about that.
Where'd you guys go? Remind me the name.
It was Animal Sanctuary Adventure or something like that. Or animal, Safari Adventure. It was by Redland. I can tell you that much.
Okay, so it was down south for those that haven't been. I've never been, and I mean I live here, but it's always nice getting someone else's perspective on things to do here. I'm like, well, how'd you even find out about that?
Because I've been wanting to pet an animal like that, like an exotic animal, for over a year now. Longer than that, but I was supposed to go when I went to California last year, and I didn't, and so it's been on my mind heavy. I need to hug a wolf or something, and I got to do that. So shout out to Florida.
Yo, shout out to Luna. Shout out to Arthur, the 17-year-old sloth. Yo,
facts.
The baby alligator out there too. We touched an alligator. That was fine.
We did hold an alligator. That
I didn't think an
happened.
alligator felt like that. That's what was crazy to me. So it's in the back of my head, I get it. I get why they make shoes and shit on it.
Crocs.
But at the same time,
I'd wear you. Is that what you told me?
You feel me? So it's
that is what he said.
I love the animals. We gotta protect.
We gotta protect the animals.
Absolutely.
But it was crazy feeling that in person. I didn't know.
It feels like wealth.
Yeah.
I felt rich real quick.
Those are the few things we kind of take for granted here in Florida, living in South Florida. And you still haven't. Have you ever been to the Everglades?
No.
That's something else that you have to do is just go out there in the middle of the swamp and just see them all in. Yeah, I mean, it's an experience. Yeah, it's something different.
I get that though, taking it for granted, because in New York, that's when people say things like, "Have you been to the High Line?" or "Have you seen the Statue of Liberty?" It's
we look at
why?
Why? Yeah, why would I? I see it all the
that?
time. Why would I go do that? No, I didn't do that.
No.
Yeah, I think that's how we feel here in South Florida. But getting back into the whole podcast scene, what exactly is something that both you, I mean, Rob, you too, you have Ugly Radio.
I have Ugly Radio.
You have Ugly
Yeah.
Radio.
You feel me? Shout out to Ugly Radio. If you ever wondered what people were listening to on the train, that's my show.
That's your Ugly Radio.
show,
And I feel like, Rob, a lot of people have connected with you, whether they live in New York, but like just in general, whether it's Twitter or, Tumblr. I think that's how I first
That's how
heard.
you found about me.
Tumblr.
That's how everybody found about me.
It's Tumblr.
And then I just got cool people.
You were popping
and
on Tumblr.
Yeah. I was out here. You feel me?
What is something that you guys as hosts look for to just put out there as far as like content on your shows? What is it that you like to display on air?
I guess different from Forecast to Chatting with Nelson. With Forecast, it was definitely way more like free flow. Sometimes to Steve's anger, but and when I do
Steve
Chatting with
angry?
Yeah,
yes.
you never see Steve angry?
If you want to see
Crazy.
Steve angry, it's me showing up with no notes on the topics he sent, and I'm just ready to freestyle it. But that was really more of the flow for the forecasters. We was so free flow, and we was kind of just always three people talking as if you would walk into any conversation. Versus with Chatting with Nelson, it's still like a informal conversation, but it's definitely more of an interview style. When I'm sitting down with people, I am conducting an interview of sorts. So I guess that would be kind of the difference there.
Mm-hmm. I would agree as well.
Right?
Yeah.
We were too formal sometimes with the forecast, but I think that's what
No, we
like
weren't.
I know it wasn't a bad thing in my opinion. I feel like a lot of people love the fact that like and I heard this a lot. It was always, it feels like I'm in the room with you as you're having the conversation.
So like you could jump into an episode and you just feel at home because we're just regular people talking.
Right.
Exactly.
It's not like we was trying to push agendas.
Current events, things
Yeah.
like that.
Oh, but honestly, sometimes we would touch on current events.
Sometimes we
but
gotta get real.
It's
but
not like you're not turning on CNN to hear, two people break down the election. You're walking into your barbershop to hear three friends give their opinion on it, and that's what people were attracted to.
Yeah.
It's a lot more relatable these days.
Yes,
Yes. I think that's something that's connected everyone is with the podcast. And I feel like it's grown so much these past few years. You guys started Forecast, what year was that? Remind me.
2015?
15,
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah. So we've been doing it for about 5 years.
Yeah, I feel like you guys were maybe one of the first podcasts that I was like actually like loyal to listening to.
I'm glad you
That's
said
fine.
it.
Yeah, and it
I
wasn't just
appreciate
as a
that.
friend because back then we didn't really have that friendship, but it was more of, my friend told me to check them out and then I'd listen and I'm like, okay.
That's phenomenal.
I'd be laughing in my room as I'm doing something.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I love about podcasts is that it's a little bit more free to give your perspective on things and
Yeah.
speak on. And although this is, online radio because you can listen to us anywhere in the world and download the app and everything, I still love to also give it that podcast vibe because it is also available as a podcast.
Yeah.
And as a journalist, now that we were touching on current events, as also a journalist, it's so hard for me personally to kind of separate both when I'm on air.
Your views and the air.
Right.
Okay.
My view as a journalist and just being, just I guess neutral about certain things and not
Yeah.
having to touch subject. Today especially, I was like, all right, anything I posted, I'm like, okay, you gotta make sure that it's not, I'm not going to one side or I'm not going to the other because fake news and this and that, and I'm just, I'm glad that this elections are over. We can finally say we have a new president.
Fire.
Yes.
How do we feel about that?
The Trump pack is in the air. You feel me? The MAGA runs.
The MAGA runs is lit up and it's powerful. I mean, I can't. I would be lying if I said I didn't feel a sense of relief. I don't know about everybody
I felt
else.
relief,
I do
bro.
feel a sense of relief because
Because God forbid this went any longer and it went the complete opposite way.
it's been a long 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's been quick and long at the same time because I can still vividly remember when Trump won the election in 2016 and then just thinking it's going to be a long 4 years, and it's been a long 4 years. So I'm glad we're able to move past it because it was looking scary. You know what
I
I'm
was
saying?
scared.
We were all a little bit
The country
scared.
was getting
Yeah.
really scary.
Yeah, it still is, and I mean, we still have a month and a half. How many days of him in office up until January?
I think 74 days.
Yeah,
Something
but who's
like that.
counting?
But yeah, I don't know. It's
feel
just a
like
guesstimate.
These next 74 days is going to be a little bit lighter. There's a weight off people's shoulders. Because,
Right.
now he's out the office, obviously. There's going to be some time. But
Steve, why are you
Steve
nodding
shaking
your
his
head?
head?
We're in for a shitstorm. Oh,
Beep. That'll be edited. Go ahead.
the only thing I'll say is that now that he knows that he has a finite date, he's gonna try everything in his power to manipulate everything
Run through
up
it
until
quick.
up
Yeah, I
until
can
that
see
point.
that.
Yeah, I can see that too.
So expect a lot of executive orders in the next couple
I'm telling you,
weeks.
lockdown 2 on the way.
One thing I can say is it's one thing being a journalist and reporting facts and things like that. But it's another thing, like I always put being a woman first. And that was something that I always took like into consideration when I read his things. Because I was open to kind of seeing both sides. But it gets to a point when you're like, all right, enough is enough.
Yeah,
like
you
you're
clearly
offending
side.
everyone
Like,
out
yeah,
here.
like-
You're offending over 200,000 people that lost their lives because of COVID. Like you think it's a joke. It's just so much to kind of just put into perspective that I'm like, all right, enough is enough. I think we're ready for a change. He's one of the first presidents to surprisingly not be elected to the second term. So I'm like so happy about that because I think that's what people expected.
Right.
That the second term come around and he's in office still. I can
happy
breathe.
he's out.
Yeah,
happy he's
I
out.
can say, I mean, just seeing the energy that when I first saw the post, I was like, oh, okay, now it's actually
Like it's a real thing, right? Because even like when seeing, like following the election results and kind of seeing like, Biden, so he's taking over here, he's taking over there. He's eventually,
Right.
I would say 2 days ago, kind of felt like we knew he was gonna win.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it is that good sigh of relief to kind of just be like, all right, it's over.
when Fox News is reporting it, it's like, all right, it's
Like, just
it's a wrap. We're all on the same page.
All the news networks right now are actually like turning on him. They all like, or at least most of them, kind of like cut off his speech the other night.
Yes, many.
They're,
in
you
the
know what
middle
they're
of his
doing.
Speech, it was like everything he's saying is wrong. Don't
Yeah.
believe this.
Don't
Stop
believe
the
it.
count.
I spoke to someone on the phone because part of my role in what I do with news, I'm also answering viewers' phone calls and things like that. And of course, there's always that one Trump supporter which I end up speaking to, and he's speaking about whatever happened last night. He's like, "Is it true that you guys cut off my president while he was speaking?"
Oh.
And I was like, "Sir," I didn't even answer him because I work a morning shift, so I'm like, I don't know anything that happens past 11:30 in the morning on the
Right.
newscast. I like disconnect right now, so I'm like, I can't tell you if we did disconnect from. So you're telling me as a receptionist? I'm like, first of all, that's what we're not gonna do is you discredit my
I am not a receptionist.
over 4 years of school that I had to go through, the student loans that I'm still paying off, and you're not gonna say I'm a receptionist. Not that there's anything wrong,
Right.
but
No,
get the
no.
title right at least. Like don't.
Yeah, no, of
And
course.
sometimes I catch myself sort of going back and forth, like defending just the news department in general, but also defending myself. And some other times I'm like, all right, I've had enough. We're
Yeah.
gonna hang up and we're gonna continue with the day.
Just it's hard. Like a lot of people live by that. That's one thing my mom's always told me. She was like, you fight ignorance by ignoring it, right? You're supposed to kind of just let it run its course. But it is hard. It is very hard sometimes when people are being like, overtly ignorant in your face.
Yeah.
It is
Happening
difficult.
all the time.
Kudos to you.
No matter where you turn, it's there. So it's like, damn.
I mean,
give me a
yeah.
break.
And between the racism and just like everything was just too much this
I'm
year.
curious. It's different because like in New York, like
You guys are a blue state. Us here in Florida.
yeah, and I'm not.
You would be surprised.
I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
that
Well,
New York
New
is
York is
racism
a red
free.
state.
Right.
But I definitely feel like, at least in the Bronx, it's racism is kept to more pockets. So like, how is it over here in Florida, where like when we was coming over here to the studio,
It's
like
overtly-
and
We
we
seen
was seeing
Trump-
all the Trump flags,
seen all
like
the
you know what I'm
Trump
saying.
flags,
So
all
like,
that.
do you experience racism?
Good question.
Had to flip it on you real quick.
I haven't. Thankfully, I have not. But like you said, I mean, South Florida itself is a lot different than the rest of Florida. I mean, Miami-Dade and Broward County and Palm Beach also, they all, majority voters went to Biden.
Okay.
So, there's that. But there's still many Cubans, are strong Trump supporters. Many Venezuelans.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Don't plug that.
What is the song that you've been singing all weekend?
They were wilding. They was in the booth with that.
Yeah,
It's like,
we hear there's a lot in the Spanish radio stations here. I have not played that, and I don't think
have
I will
requested
ever.
wait, they played it on the stations here?
The stations here, though, there's a lot of different stations here. I mean, whether it's AM, FM, not the ones I listen to, but yeah,
Yeah,
those
no.
are things that are
Oh,
played
that's
or
different.
aired on TV. I mean,
That's
at the end of the day, yeah, that's paid programming. That's making they're making money.
In New York, I feel like I saw the occasional Trump ad on TV, but like in the radio, I didn't hear nothing.
No, that's what I'm saying. So like I'll see it. You can see a TV ad, and like it's a TV ad. Hearing that on the radio,
That's crazy. That would
I might
jar
have
me.
to like pull over. I'm like, y'all for real? Like,
I would call the radio
yeah,
station.
like yo, y'all bugging right
Don't
now.
put that on my airwaves.
Not my president.
This is
Yeah.
a blue family.
Yeah, no, unfortunately that it is what it is, you know. You try to ignore them and everything, and but I just love the energy that there was after that win, just
Yeah.
because I was in my couch and I could hear, I mean, I live in a gated community, you can say, and I'm hearing people honking,
Nice.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, it was people honking just within. I'm like, okay, cool, because we expect that from downtown Miami over at the Torch of Friendship, which is where everyone was at, Biden supporters, Cubans for Biden, as they call it, Latinos for Biden, and the crowds. I mean, Biscayne Boulevard was shut down, and the crowds are out there, and you know. So this is what was fair, I'd like to say. Besides everything that Trump is saying, and you know the elections being a fraud,
Yeah.
it was only right that every vote was
fraud?
counted. Yeah, a fraud.
Stop the count.
Twitter flags him. Yeah, it's one of those. But let's see. I mean, I'm hoping that the next 4 years actually brings some type of change. I
Right.
think that's what we're all.
I mean, if
more
it doesn't
concerned
right,
about.
then what was all this for? I need something. Just because, like, I always think now, like, ahead for my son. And, like, I really genuinely, all jokes aside, like, we laugh and we kid about things, but, like, all jokes aside, the country was headed in a very scary place.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Like, it was getting real dark out there, guys. So I would need to see some type of change in the next 4 years to start feeling better about the future, because they're saying we got 7 years to live.
It's not 7 years to live.
Is that what the big screen at,
Yeah.
is it Times Square?
It was 7 years before we use up all of our planet's like
Right.
natural resources.
And
like
if
that.
we use up the natural resources,
But
Mother
it's not
Earth, she'll die.
It's not gonna happen like the snap of a finger. It's gonna slowly progress into.
You don't
Yeah.
know that.
You feel me? So summer it might be a little bit too hot.
You ever seen 2012?
Yes. In
Okay, then.
2009.
But what happened
day
in
after
2012? Nothing. We were all staring at
Yeah.
our phones waiting for like something to
I thought
fall
it was
out
a
of
rap.
the...
I thought it was Y2K part 2.
But yeah, so and besides all of that, I'm just happy there's a woman in the White House now.
Yeah,
There
that's
will
also
be.
cool.
Yeah, so that's like, you know, for starters, that's what I'm most happy about. So that's that for elections 2020. I'm happy to
Put it
move
in the
on
books.
from that. Yeah, I think many of us were happy that this happened in 2020 with everything else going on. So
Yes.
that was bound to happen. But back to the podcasting. I wanted to talk a little bit. Oh my God, the time! Why does the time go by so fast?
Because we're having fun.
Yeah,
You feel me?
exactly.
Time doesn't exist when you talk with us.
For you guys, going back a little bit to what you said that you like to do more of the interviewing style
Yes.
now. Is that something that you always saw yourself doing, as far as like doing something with broadcasting?
Yeah, honestly, since I was a little kid, I mentioned earlier, like, I watched a lot of late night television.
Who was your
growing up.
favorite late night
Conan
talk show
O'Brien.
host?
Conan O'Brien. Like, I loved Conan O'Brien. I still love Conan O'Brien. And I think what grabbed me most about Conan O'Brien, it wasn't only Conan O'Brien. Like, I watched Jay Leno, I watched Jimmy Kimmel. You know, I watched all the late night stuff. But Conan O'Brien to me always was, he was so like out there. His personality was always so like just it grabbed you. To every time you watch his shows, it grabbed you in some form. I love the way he set up his show with the many different segments and things like that. But more importantly, I think it was that storytelling, like the way that they conducted their interviews and the way that they were able to kind of like touch on famous people and make you learn something new, right? Because when you see interviews with famous people, it's always kind of rehashed content. Oh, what made you do this role, or what made you do this project? But for me, I always felt like Conan was able to kind of tap into a different spot and like find these, little pockets of information about people, and that was something I wanted to do. So I followed it.
You took notes on it? I was going to say, is that something that you kind of, or you look to see how can I do this differently, more of my style?
So I didn't necessarily take notes as much as I literally tried to like kind of emulate my style about it, to be completely honest. And when I approached these guys in 2015 about doing the podcast, like before we got to Free Flow, in my mind, the forecast was always going to kind of be like a television show almost, just in podcast form. And then it kind of evolved from there. But yeah, in terms of the interview style, I always kind of just saw like late night television to grab me, the way that like think about late night television. It airs sometimes 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. I think they have shows as late as almost 1 a.m. But they get viewers you get millions of people tuning in, and to be able to get people to stay up that late, it's because you have the ability to tell stories and the ability to use words to kind of grab people in, and that just kind of always, it got me down this road eventually.
Stuck with you.
Yeah.
How about, I want to know, Rob, you with Ugly Radio, where do you plan on taking it? I feel like Ugly Radio is so much more than a podcast, just with the name itself.
Yeah, it's cool. Just say it. It's cool.
I don't know why. I mean, I just got stickers too, so.
You feel me? Like, we got the merch on the way. Where I'm gonna take it. So when I started it, it was basically me. Like, I wanted to know like what made people tick. So that's where the music aspect came in.
Right.
Cause you can see me and you probably think, oh, he just listen to rap. I got a Slipknot shirt. Like, I listen to Slipknot. I listen to all these other stuff, and like that's what helps people get through the day. And I also wanted people to have a platform. Was like, all right, I'm an artist. This is what I listen to do my art. So do it like that. And I was season 2 during COVID. I was still trying to emulate it, but now I'm gonna have it so that in the show I'm playing music that they're listening to, that I'm listening to. It's gonna be like one of those Beats One shows, if anything.
I like that.
So I just want it to be free flow, because obviously you can pay attention for so much in a conversation, and if you hear music, you bop into it, and then you be back in the convo. I just want to have people to have a place like they could just talk their stuff. It's pretty much
Feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Who's one person each one of you would love to interview, like that dream person to interview?
Dream interview?
Damn.
You guys gotta think about it.
I got a couple people. I would definitely love to interview, obviously, Conan O'Brien. If I just told you, like, I emulate his style in a bit. But I would also, I would really love to interview Vince McMahon, because I think the amount of stories you would be able to get, if you were able to speak to him in like a loose setting. If it was like a corporate setting, I know he'll keep it corporate. But if you were able to kind of speak to him in a very loose setting, I think the amount of gems and knowledge you can get from a Vince McMahon is... That would be incredible, like,
I would say this.
An incredible listen to me.
Invaluable.
Yeah. Damn, who would I...
That's
like a lot of people.
Steve, do you have someone?
I'm having difficulty trying to figure out somebody who, like, alive. But the only, like, real person that I would, like, want to hit up is, like, Bernie Mac. Like,
really?
That'd be a cool.
I'd like to smoke a blunt with Bernie Mac.
I feel that.
And you're a Cuban, you feel me?
I feel that. Damn.
Rob?
I don't really know.
No?
I would say,
well,
let's see. It's like all these people have been done. You know what? I want to give Kanye a real interview.
A real interview.
A real interview. Feel me? Because he's going on all these things, and they just like keep bringing up that he's crazy.
Kanye's, it's tricky with Kanye.
I want to tell.
It's like, what Kanye am I gonna get today?
2024.
I want to tell him no, because I don't think nobody's telling him no. Go do this. It's just go do it.
Hey,
go do it,
stop.
Do it. You feel me?
He does as he pleases.
Stop
He's one of those guys. But to kind of finish things up, I wanted to get your guys' take. As podcasters for several years, you guys have both ventured into your own and as a group. What advice would you give to someone that's looking to start a podcast and is, kind of afraid of that
just
jump?
Do it.
Yes.
Like Nike?
Just do it.
No, honestly, and it's
it.
such cliche advice, but that's really what I tell anybody who hits me up and is like, hey, I'm thinking about starting it. Do it.
Forget about everything else.
Commit to it. And you have to commit to it fully. I think a lot of people are like, it's easy. You talk in front of a microphone, and you know better than anybody else.
Yeah.
It's not just that, and you have to commit to it. But the first step is always just doing it, because that's all we did. We bought a $30 microphone and we just started doing it. And it was plenty of trial and error. There was times where we would record and completely scrap the episode. You know what I'm saying?
Really?
Yeah, because it takes trial and error. But you gotta just do it. You just gotta try.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just don't be afraid to be in front of the mic. Feel me? Because like when we started, like we're the best of friends. We have conversations like nothing. Then a mic is in front of you, and it's like, oh, mad dead air. And it's like, don't be afraid to do that. Record anything, everything. Because you're going to pick pieces up from that. Like, oh, you know what? I can fix this. Move it like that. Just be you. That's really it. Be you on it.
And don't be afraid of no.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing like an interview style. Like, I'll be honest, I shoot my shot a lot. Sometimes it's completely out of range. Like, you know, like I sent the message to Snow Allegra, and like I knew my chances were pretty much non-existent, but like I tried.
I've commented. I think it was Jay Eli, Lawrence from Insecure.
Yeah. You see?
I am like, you know what? It's my turn to interview. He liked the comment, but that's about it.
But
I was like, all right, we getting somewhere.
You gotta
Something
try.
you
You know what I'm
gotta
saying? Like the worst they can say is no. And if you're doing like an interview style, or even if it's not an interview style, and you're just trying to like reach out to people, don't be afraid of no. Go for it, because if they say no, they say no. But there's a chance they say yes, and you won't ever experience that unless you at least try. So don't be afraid to say no, and definitely just do it and commit. That's what I would say to people.
And one thing, don't be afraid to ask for help, because you're going to need it. Trust me, I was doing my stuff. I was afraid to ask for help because I wanted everything on my terms. But like, it's okay to ask for help.
Yes, it
if
is.
they don't want to help you, that's their loss. You feel me?
Love it.
We're not supposed to gatekeep.
And now more than ever with Zoom, everything. I mean, it's not just the voice that you're recording. You also have access to video recording, cameras, put more content out there. So it's so important to keep kind of pushing and being consistent with it. I'd add that. But guys, I gotta say bye to us right now. I know it's so short, but we can continue this some other time. Part 2,
Yes,
definitely. I hope to see a lot more content from both Ugly Radio and Chatting with Nelson.
Yes.
Let everyone know where they can connect with you guys, subscribe, show some love.
If you want to, kind of see me on a personal tip, you can always follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Noslin is Nelson. In terms of the podcast, Chatting with Nelson on RNC Radio, you can always subscribe on Apple Podcasts. You can do Spotify, Amazon Podcast, Transistor.fm, and then also Google Podcasts. And then I have to make sure I plug RNC Radio on Instagram, on Twitter. That is actually the network that I work with in terms of Chatting with Nelson, and also Rob with Ugly Radio. It's great content by people of color. They cover everything from anime, we got wrestling, we got comic books, we got interview, music. We cover everything, and it's really good people. It's really great content. So RNC Radio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that stuff. Check out everything we got, because it's really good content.
There's
that
a
we
lot
got there.
coming.
Yeah. Like Nell said, you guys can find me on RNC Radio's network. I'm Ugly Radio. If you guys want to hit me up personally, on Twitter, I'm Ugly New York _ Free my old account.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, I'm like, that's for another day.
And if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's regular Ugly New York. Just hit me up, say what's up. I have no problem chatting with y'all.
Facts.
You guys can find me nowhere.
Steve don't give out his social.
Yeah, Steve's very private. It's okay. You guys can get through me if you want to get to Steve.
I gotta do it.
Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm glad we were able
Thank
to
you for having us.
do
Yeah,
this
thank you for having
here
us.
in the
This is
305. You're always welcome. I know we got to do more collabs,
Yes.
and hopefully we can make that happen soon. So thank you guys. Say hi to the Bronx for me. Show love,
We got
everything. And until next time, saying bye right here.